Okay guys, I'm going to go through the practice test for you here because there was a few problems when I corrected. There was like 7 of you that got it done, just to make sure that you kind of know what's going on. So this will be formatted similar to what your test will be on Friday. So angle ADM, that's a central angle because again it's the middle letter is at the center of the circle. Angle ACT, that's an inscribed angle. And again, because the angle sits on the circle. Number 3, arc ABC. That's going to be a semicircle because it's half the circle. Arc AB is a minor arc because it's less than half. Arc BAC is going to be a major arc because it's more than half. Number 6, segment AD is a radius because it's half the diameter. Number 7, segment TC, that's a chord because it goes from a point on the circle to another point on the circle. Line BT, so that's, again, you can't see it on the picture, it didn't extend it, but because of those arrows, if it goes through the circle, that's called a secant. And the last one, line EH, that's a tangent because it just touches at H. So you'll have these same style of questions on your test where you have to match up which one it corresponds. Okay, so now for the mathematical, like the actual number side of the test. Number 10, the measure of angle AXB is 51 degrees. What's the measure of arc AB? So if I highlight AXB, that's that angle right there. And they want to know what's the measure of arc AB. Because the angle AXB falls on the center of the circle, it's called a central angle, and therefore the arc measure is the same as the angle measure. Number 11, measure of arc AC is 160. So here's arc AC. So that's 160 degrees. The measure of angle AXT. So here's angle AXT is 4x minus 8. Solve for x. So they gave you the arc that doesn't correspond with the angle. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the arc AT. Well, since TC is a diameter, we know that this is going to be 20 degrees. So then I can say, because it's a central angle again, 4x minus 8 equals 20. And then I can solve that. So 4x equals 28, x equals 7. Okay, next ones. So 12, 13, 14, and 15. PT is the diameter of circle x, find the indicated measure. So number 12, the measure of, and that's supposed to be arc UT. So here's UT. Because TP is a diameter, we know that from T to P on the circle is 180 degrees, or you can look at your angle measures. Since this angle here is 90, you know that the angle that's side by side to that also has to be 90. So that would leave us with 60 degrees because 60 plus 30 makes 90. So that I know that the arc measure is also 60 degrees. Measure of arc USP. So USP, again, starting at U, going through S all the way to P. So again, because TP, I know that this, I shouldn't write it inside of there. I know that the half of the circle is 180, plus the 60 that we just found. So from U to T is 60, from T through S to P is 180. So then 60 plus 180 is 240. Number 13, the measure of angle TXS. So TXS, again, same kind of idea. Because I know the half circle is 180, I can just take 180 minus 72 for that. And that's going to be 108. And then the last one, the measure of angle WPT. So WPT, a couple different ways of doing it. You know that WX and XP are radii. So if you have a 90-degree angle and it's an isosceles triangle, you know that you have 90 degrees left. So you can take 90 divided by 2, and that's going to give you 45 degrees. So that's not using anything from this chapter. If we use the information from this chapter, we know that from U to T, we know that that's 90 degrees. And so to find the angle down here at P, because that's an inscribed angle, you just take half of the arc measure. So half of 90 is 45. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that question, using prior knowledge or using information from this chapter. All right, number 16. Find the measure of angle BDA if the measure of BDA equals 4y minus 2 and the measure of ACB equals 2y plus 8. So they're trying to get us to find the measure of BDA. So they want us to find this angle right here. What they're telling us is that the measure of angle BDA is 4y minus 2 and the measure of ACB, so if I switch colors here, they're telling us this one is 2y plus 8. Now the key piece of this is they intercept the same arc. So if you trace ADB and you trace BCA, they both intersect at the same arc. So you know that those two values have to be the same. So 4y minus 2 equals 2y plus 8. So minus 2y and then add 2. So that's 2y equals 10. So y is 5. But then they want us to find what the measure of BDA is. So I'm going to plug that back in. So 4 times 5 is 20. 20 minus 2 is 18 degrees. Okay, for questions 17, 18, and 19, these are the 3 styles of problems, or the 3 styles of angles, I guess, that happen in this chapter. So the first one is an angle that happens outside of the circle. The key to this one is you have to find this missing arc first. You know that in a circle it's 360 degrees. So 104 plus 98 plus 96 plus the measure of the arc, I'm going to call it y since we're using an x, it has to add up to 360. So if I go through and do all the math on that, so 104 and 96, that's 200, 298. So that's going to be 62 degrees. Now I can use 98 minus 62 and take half of that to get the answer. So half of 36 is 18 degrees. Okay, the next one is just an angle that's inside of the circle. So when you have an angle that's inside of the circle, you're just going to add the 2 intercepted arcs. So 37 plus 32, and then take half of that. So that's going to be 34.5 degrees. The last one is an angle that's on the circle. This is, to me, the easiest one. All you have to do is take half of the angle measure. So that's going to be 64 degrees. Excuse me, half of the arc measure. So that gives you 64 degrees for that one. Okay, the next set of problems, so question number 20. A lot of confusion on these when I graded them. The key feature of all of them is you actually have to find a piece of information first before you can actually do the problem. So on this question, because I'm looking for this random arc measure, I first am going to find the green arc measure. So 48 times 2 is 96. So again, same kind of idea before. I know that 118 plus 96 plus 11x plus 3 has to add up to 360. So if I subtract the pieces that I know, the piece that I'm looking for has to equal 146. So then subtract 3 from that. 11x equals 143. So then x would be 13. Okay, Second one, solve for x, show all work and box your answers. So again, I need to find the arc that we don't know. So I can do it the same way. I know that 160 plus 76 plus, I'm going to call it y, the piece I don't know has to add up to 360. So I know that that arc that I'm looking for is going to be 124 degrees. So I'm going to fill that in on my picture. Now I have enough information, because if I go half of 124 minus 76, that's going to equal the angle measure. So 3x plus 6 equals 24, minus 6, 3x equals 18, divide by 3, and x equals 6. Both of those involved finding a missing part first before you can actually set up the problem that you needed to solve. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you have to find some extra information when you're doing them. All right, question 22, solve for x, show all work, box your actions. This one's a little easier because we give you the two arc measures. So half of 154 plus 64 is going to equal the angle measure, 9x plus 1. So 9x plus 1 is going to equal 109. So subtract 1. 9x equals 108. So then x is going to equal 12. Okay, 23 is a very specific problem from the notes. Anytime you have an inscribed angle, so in this case the angle that's located at C, intercepting half of the circle, so in other words, the pieces of the angle end at the diameter, we know that that answer is going to be 90 degrees. Two ways of thinking about it. You know that if it's a diameter, the arc measure is 180 degrees. So properties say when the angle is on the circle, you take half of the arc measure, so half of 180 is 90 degrees. Or you can think of it as the property in the notes that we talked about where it says anytime you have an inscribed angle that ends on the diameter, you know that the answer is automatically going to be 90 degrees when you get it. Okay, number 24. This one was specific as well to a property that we talked about. We know that opposite angles in an inscribed quadrilateral add up to 180 degrees. The issue with this problem is we don't know x or y. However, they do show us, I switch my color here, that the inscribed angle intercepts the arc. So we know that x is going to be half of the pink, which is 159 plus 97. So that's going to leave us with 128 degrees. And then I can come over here and plug that in. So 128 plus y equals 180. So then that's going to leave us with 52 degrees. Okay, so again, multiple ways of doing that. You could have found the other part of it and got y first and then solved for x. Again, it's however you see the problem. Just understand that an inscribed angle, so that's an angle that lands on the circle, is going to be half of the intercepted arc measure. So that one you did have to add the 159 and the 97 because they gave it to you in separate pieces, and then just take half of it. That's your 128. And then you can subtract to get your final answer. Okay, 25, they actually give you the two pieces. So this one is just a straightforward. We're going to add up 11x minus 8 plus 9x plus 8. That's got to equal 180 degrees. Anytime you have, again, an inscribed quadrilateral, the opposite angles have to add up to 180. So this is going to give us 20x equals 180. So then x equals 9. Okay, and then the last question. This is the one that students tend to struggle with the first time they do it. I always liked these in college when we did them. It was like a giant puzzle to me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label everything in the picture that they give me. Okay, so they tell me that GC is a diameter. So that's important because I can break up that circle into two halves where I know that the left half is 180 degrees, the right half is 180 degrees. So anything that's with the GC, that's going to tell me it's 180 degrees. So that's kind of nice. The next one says the measure of BC, so that arc is 20 degrees. That's very important because right away I know the answer to the angle 1. Angle 1 is the central angle, and the intercepted arc is 20 degrees. So I know right away angle 1 is 20 degrees. Okay, the next one says the measure of angle ACD is 58. So I know that 2 and 4, those two angles are 58 degrees. Okay, I'm going to hold off on using that for anything for a little bit. The next one says arc DG is 80. So this arc is 80 degrees. Okay, now right away, I can find 4. The measure of angle 4 is an inscribed angle, and its intercepted arc is 80 degrees. So the angle is half the measure of the arc. So I'm going to hop down to measure of angle 4 right away, and I get 40 degrees. Now I can come back and find the measure of angle 2. If 2 and 4 are 58 degrees, and 4 is 40 degrees, I can just take 58 minus 40, and that's going to give me 18 degrees. Okay? Now, there's a few other things that we can fill in right away. I now know angle 3. Angle 1, and angle 2, and angle 3 are 180 degrees because they form a triangle. That's from way, way back in first semester. I know that 1 was 20. I know that 2 is 18. So I can figure out the measure of angle 3 pretty quick. So 20 and 18 is 38. Take that away from 180, and we get 142. Okay? So now if you remember that very first statement that they gave us, that GC is a diameter, I said right away, I know some things. So specifically, this arc right here is 180 degrees. Well, they told us that part of the arc was 80, so this other part's going to be 100. So that's where CD comes from. That's 100 degrees. Okay? And then the last one, AC. Again, we can do it a couple different ways. So we know, oh, someone was at the door. We know a few different pieces here. So if I know angle 2 is 18, I know that AG would be 36. Again, the inscribed angle in the arc measure, if we double it, so that's 36 degrees. Now I can use the same idea when I did with the 80. I know, if I switch colors here, it rang the doorbell again. Yeah, I'm recording right now, so they're hearing all of this. Sorry about that, guys. So anyway, back to this. So we got 36 degrees, so it's 180. So I don't need that 20 anymore because I'm just finding AC. So 180 minus 36 is going to be 144 degrees. Okay, so that is your review. Take a look at that. If you guys have questions, or if you still have questions, make sure you shoot me an email. Let me know. If you finish the review, shoot me an email because I've been putting those in. So this is recorded on Sunday at 2:30. So just keep that in mind that if you guys finish that review, let me know. I will check again later this evening. Until then, good luck on the test if you don't touch base with me before then on Friday. But I will also put in a second review into all your folders for you to practice.